You completed the final story chapter of Resleriana, and you're wondering, okay, so what do I do next, right? You have this little lock, nothing left to do. How do you progress your account efficiently to sort of set up for endgame and get to like that daily log state where you're just able to, log into your dailies every day, log out, wait for the next event, etc. And there's a few things you definitely want to focus on over others. The first thing is you want to get your main party strong. Experience is slow and scarce in this game, and you just want to focus one main party with levels. You don't want to spread it out. Focus on 5 characters, get the levels up. It can also be good to get one carry to level 60 before everyone else. So like once your party is in the mid 40s, focus one character up to 60. So like I have Ryza at 60 here. And I have some tricks for doing that I'll go over later. Your usable items are very important, so getting good usable items set up is a must, and I'll go over those later as well. So to get your party into this state where you have everyone's grow boards complete, where you're able to start getting like good XP for them, you want to complete your training quests. You want to 3-star all of them. This is the most important thing you can do for your account progression. 3-star the master orb quests. And it can be pretty difficult. I'm not going to do a guide for these quests specifically, however, I will give you a few tips for each one. They can all be done with low 6,000s in power. Generally, blue can be done in low 5,000s, so this one's very good to do early, especially if you need light orbs, because the light orb drop rate gets way better in master. So you want to do blue as soon as possible to get light orbs to level up your team, and then you can focus on the rest of them later once you have a little more experience. For red, a good strat, for most of these, a good strat is to take 2 attackers and 3 breakers. For red, you want to make sure that you either tank them using items like Mystic Robe or using Linka because they have massive magic AoE damage, or the strat that I think is better is to just kill them all using Resna's Burst or another AoE burst before they can attack you. And if you watch my other video on how to use burst panels, it'll sort of tell you what you need to look out for to be able to do that. Blue is just a damage check. They don't do any damage to you on turn 1, so it's very easy to clear even at low power. Green, you might need to reset for red panels or just break them all. Green is a little tricky. Resetting for red panels so that you can tank single target attacks from these is a very valid strategy, as long as you're sure that you're going to be able to kill them after that. Yellow is kind of similar to green, just do it without taking, except you can do it without taking damage, especially with 3 breakers. One thing that's nice about yellow is AoE is actually not needed here. Once they're broken, they take a ton of damage from your attackers, so you just get them to the point where they're broken and you bonk them. And then purple, a number of the enemies cast poison on you, so you want to leave those ones unbroken and alive, and then you can AoE them all down because you don't take too much damage. It's generally easy to stay pretty healthy. You still need to have good strategy for all of them, but it is possible to do them underpowered. And once you have them done, if you run them each like 40 times or something like that, you'll have enough orbs basically for your entire team. So you want to get those done. You want to get your peace dungeon done. If you can do the orbs, you can definitely do the peace quest. And just make sure to 3-star everything else as well so that you can get the daily bonuses every single day. All the other ones are easier. And then we have the XP quests. The XP quest is the best XP in the game right now. And it doesn't seem like much, but there are some tricks to sort of make it useful. You can use it to very easily grind one character up to level 60, which I recommend doing early on. And the way you do that is you put the character you want to carry in the team and then 4 other characters that are all level 1. And then you take the level 1 characters and you unlock their grow board up to level 5 or so, which if you're at this point in the game, you should easily have the orbs to do that for all of them. And then once they're grow board level 5, their level's high enough that you can just run, like, you can run this 80 times or whatever. They'll get to like level 25, 30, and you'll get a bunch of candy, and then you can reset all of these characters. And once you reset them, it's free. It gives you all the experience they have back as candy, and you can focus it all on the main character, and they will go back to level 1. To get a character from level 50 to 60, I believe takes about 800 to 1,000, like 800 stamina doing this. So it's not too much. It's a lot, but that's like a couple days worth of stamina or like 8 cookies. It's not that bad. I highly recommend doing this because having one character, one attacker at 60 will absolutely carry your progression for everything else once you can manage that. So after you have all of your training quests done, or even before, the other thing you want to focus on is some specific recipes. And it can be a little overwhelming because there are a lot of recipes. There are 65 in the main storybook, and once you complete the story, you unlock extra recipes, which there are 57 of. And so what recipes do you want to focus on? The first recipe you want to try and get is the Draken Elixir. The Draken Elixir increases burst damage for one character by 60%. This is really, really good for clearing things with Resna or another character with an AoE burst skill. It basically triples the burst damage and just deletes everything. It's really good. You want to get this item as soon as possible. And you can see how good it is in my other video on how to use bursts. The other good buff item that you want to grab from recipes is the alchemy candy. Instead of improving one character's burst damage, it improves all characters' magic skill damage. And this is very, very solid for your magic attackers early on. It's a more general use item. It's very good if you're autoing. It's very good if you're just doing like easier content that doesn't rely on burst as much. Draken Elixir is better for hard content. Alchemy Candy is better for general content. So this is your all-purpose buff item that you will mostly have equipped. Other than that, there's a golden extract soup. If you don't have lightning resina, this one's very good. It improves critical rate by 25%. Usually you would use 2 of these in one alchemy, or 2 alchemy candy in one of these, but this item's not as important as the alchemy candy, so it's good for high rolling. Not bad. And then there is the Angel Ribbon. The Angel Ribbon is the best accessory currently in Global. And the reason for that, there's 2 reasons. When you're crafting items, the traits are generally more important than the item itself. The bonuses on the items themselves, like this reduced damage, the HP, the speed, like these are all great. They all make your character stronger. However, they pale in comparison compared to traits. And Angel Ribbon not only has very solid stats baseline, and it's a generic item that can be used by any character, its materials are really, really cheap. It only needs 2 of each of 3 easy to get SR materials, meaning it costs less than 10 stamina per craft. And when you need to be spamming hundreds of crafts to get like good traits on an item, you want your items to be cheap because the traits are more important. So Angel Ribbon is currently, it's not only just really good stat-wise, it's also really cheap. So Angel Ribbon is a fantastic accessory to have to be spamming for good traits. Another good accessory is the Hustle Belt. This is the highest speed accessory we have, which is good for reaching speed breakpoints if you absolutely need it. But it's more niche than the Angel Ribbon, and it is specifically for getting those breakpoints on your breakers or something so that you can break enemies before they one-shot you. It's also fairly cheap, but it is not as cheap as the Angel Ribbon. And then the rest of these recipes, none of them matter too much. A few of them are decent. In general, they're kind of expensive. The battle scarf is okay. Spirit Staff Fire is good because it's good for meta units, but it's still a little expensive. So just focus on getting these so that you get the gems from them, but they're not a priority to complete other than the ones I went over. And then we have extra recipes. And the harsh reality of extra recipes is that by and large, they're not very good, believe it or not. And there's two reasons for that. So the first reason is every time you make an item, an SSR item, these purple items, there is a chance for it to be a worse version, an SR version of the item, so orange. Usually that chance is like 40-60 or 50-50, like it's pretty evenly split between SSR and SR, but a lot of the extra recipes actually have a really unfavorable ratio. You will get SR items like 80 to 90% of the time on a number of these, which makes them feel bad to craft. They're also prohibitively expensive. Like I click a random one, you can see it takes like 65 materials. This other one, 40 materials, and it just goes on like that. They take a lot of materials. Some of them are cheaper. These ones are generally more useful. Some of them are really expensive. This one takes 130 materials. So most of the extra recipes are not that great. Also, a lot of them have really nonsensical stats, like this gives breaker skill damage when you want breaker stun damage, things like that. A few of them are a bit more useful long-term, like Fortune's Light, which gives generic damage reduction, great for your defenders. Things like Training Path. This is good on Sophie when she comes out because it boosts the potency of her resistance debuff. And then there's a few down here that are important. But overall, it's not that many of them. The recipes down here are pretty good. A few of them. Heroic Geist is a debuff item that increases the stun damage that enemies take if you need to reach a specific threshold on your stun damage and can't do it any other way. Heroic Geist is useful there. It's niche, but it's good. Yarn Coat is the best attacker body armor in the game by quite a bit. Usually body armor doesn't have offensive stats. Yarn Coat boosts critical damage by 17%, which is a pretty rare stat. However, it is very expensive. This isn't something you want to focus on early. It's more of an end game grind to make good yarn coats. And same for the gold embroidered coat. It's a good stun damage armor, however, it's expensive. And the Shred Lumont is the same thing, but it's stun damage for area stun. So these three body armors, very good to have a late game, but you will not focus on them early game because they are prohibitively expensive. And some of these recipes are just pointless grinds, like this one requires you to spend 60,000 stamina on score battles, but the recipe itself isn't that useful outside of a couple very niche things. Like, you will get these eventually, but most of them aren't that useful in practice, so you can more or less ignore them for your account progression, and you just get them as you get them. You get 50 gems for each recipe, so that's nice. You get the rewards, which are sacred orbs. That's nice, but they're not worth rushing. All right, so other than daily quests, raising your team, and recipes, the endgame content right now are material quests and secret quests, or tower. So for material quests, there are a lot of dungeons. Each dungeon right now has 9 levels that you have to clear up to. I'm currently at like level 8 on this one. They go up to like 10,000 power and even above for recommended power. These take a while. It's good to do these to get the mats from them, but they're a long-term goal. There's 2 new dungeons added with each story update. You don't really need to rush them outside of levels 3 to 5 on each of them for recipes and stuff. After level 5, you have access to all the materials, and you can just take your time. If you have fun with them, keep clearing them obviously, but they are not a huge priority. And then the score battles. There are 3 difficulties for each of the story chapters. And based on how well you do, you get a rank up to SS rank. The rank affects how many materials you get when you clear it again, when you skip it. So you do want to get SS rank on every single one. That is a good goal for the time being. If you raise your party first, the first 2 chapters are pretty easy, and then it'll get harder in the 3rd chapter. So I recommend, raising your party to a good level before starting to tackle these. As far as the SS ranks go, once you get into chapter 2, the SS ranks start getting a bit more difficult. And basically how the score breakdown works is you get a flat amount of points for beating it within a certain number of turns. This number is usually 20, but it changes based on the battle. But as long as you're under that, it's the same score every time. So like if I had done this in 1 turn, it would have been exactly the same score as 11 turns. And it's the same for damage taken. There's a threshold at which it starts going down. This is based on a percentage of your team's total HP. So if you have more HP, it's easier to get a good score in this, or if you just don't take any damage at all. And KO count, you don't want anyone to die when doing score battles. Having someone dead, you probably won't get the SS rank. So the only variable that you can really maximize for getting SS is highest skill damage. This includes bursts. Bursts are skills in this game. And this is just basically the highest single hit damage. If your rank is below SS, if you like get an S and you miss by a couple thousand points, this is probably what you need to maximize when doing your score battles. So you want to take advantage of buff items, you want to take advantage of burst panels, you want to take advantage especially of AoE bursts, because if you leave every enemy alive and use an AoE attack like on Resna, it will, hit for like 20,000 on each enemy and you get 60,000 damage. That basically guarantees the SS rank for most things. So this is the stat you want to maximize for getting your SS ranks. And just go through these at your own pace. It takes 10 stamina per, there's a lot of them, so it can take a while, but the materials are very good. So you want to unlock access to these materials. And the last thing is the secret quest, the tower. The tower is challenge content. It does not rotate. It goes up to floor 30 right now. 30 is pretty clearable. If you have a full team of 60s, it's not too difficult. However, a lot of these floors are gimmick based, unlike the normal game. So the floor effects are really important to read and understand. And if you go to the battle info, it'll sort of tell you, what everything does. And for beating tower, you can generally overpower some of the floors, but not all of them. So certain floors you do need to read and understand what they do, but no rush to complete this. It is just challenge content for endgame, so do it at your own pace. And the last thing that you want to focus on is your player rank. I'm rank 16 right now. You get XP from the achievements and missions. You can see I'm 16, 0 out of 40. There's a few different sources of XP, and the reason rank is important is because it does 2 things. It increases your max stamina, which is very nice because it means you have longer between, the bar filling. At 111 once you get to 120 stamina, I believe it's 10 hours for it to fill up. So you have a lot of time. You don't have to log in as often. And the other thing it does is it increases the base chance for you to get a level 4 or 5 trait in synthesis. And I'll explain in more detail what that means when I do my synthesis video, but just to know that it's very important for making gear. And I'll explain good gear in another video as well. So, but sources of rank XP, leveling characters. For now, you just want to focus on a party of 5 characters, but long term, you will be able to get these by leveling characters to various thresholds. Another source of rank XP is leveling memoria. You will get an excess of memoria XP eventually. This goal will be met like within a couple weeks. Clearing the elemental tower is a good source of rank XP up until it's finished. Obtaining all of your SS ranks on score battles. This will cap out soon around, I think it was around like 50 SS ranks. And it updates with every story chapter, so SS ranks are also good for this. And then synthesis. These are long-term goals. Just as you synthesize more and more, you unlock these. Recipes as well give you rank XP. And research. So as you're dumping your coal into research, every 10 levels you get more rank XP. So rank is, you know, you get rank for kind of doing everything else, but it's good to know where you're getting your XP from. And sort of focus those things as, like, just keep that in mind as you're progressing through the game. And I think that's about it. I hope you all have fun with the end game of Resleri and setting up your account for future content. There is a lot to do with the release content, and there is a lot to do in the future as well. So have fun, enjoy the game, and I'll see you all in the next one.